Hello everyone, let's discuss today's The Hindu Editorial Analysis. The first article is reflecting on Bilkis Bano's resilient pursuit of justice. In this article, the writer says that the Supreme Court of India has delivered a landmark ruling in the case of Bilkis Bano, quashing the remission granted by the Gujarat government to the 11 people convicted in the case. The decision upholds the integrity of the legal process and underscores the need for a consistent, impartial application of the law, regardless of the socio-political context. The verdict has stirred optimism in the justice system, but also ignited a profound reflection on the ineffectiveness of the justice system for people with multiple subordinating identities, especially when such crimes are backed by the state. The case prompts a critical examination of the intersectionality that defines Ms. Bano's identity. A Muslim woman navigating a society marked by entrenched biases against religious minorities and women, and how that has determined her relationship with justice. As we celebrate this verdict and the return of the convicts to prison, we must also acknowledge the work that lies ahead. Ms. Bano's journey must serve as an introspective lens for us to think through the broader struggle towards justice and how best we can serve survivors of sexual violence. Justice B.V. Nagaratna, who authored the judgment, drew upon the wisdom of Greek philosopher Plato to justify directing the convicts back to prison. Punishment is to be inflicted not for the sake of vengeance, but for the sake of prevention and reformation. However, the convicts in Ms. Bano's case paint a disconcerting picture of our legal and penal systems, highlighting their inadequacies. Despite being behind bars for about 15 years, they showed no signs of remorse upon their release, underscoring a critical flaw in the prison system's ability to deliver what is expected from it. The Supreme Court's recent decision offering temporary respite to Ms. Bano reveals a disconcerting gap between legal theory and the prison system's stark reality. The judgment overlooked the function of prisons as mere holding cells, failing to instigate genuine rehabilitation. Without exposure to a better way of life or an alternative thought process that prompts individuals to recognize the errors of their actions, the prospect of genuine personal evolution while in prison becomes elusive. The case of Ms. Bano serves as a reminder that the pursuit of justice goes beyond punitive measures and requires a comprehensive re-evaluation of penal institutions and societal norms. This systemic change is necessary to break the cycle of crime and ensure a more just and compassionate society. The quest for justice must extend beyond courtrooms to build an ecosystem that addresses the root causes of criminal behavior and facilitates lasting change. Carceral feminism, coined by Barnard College professor Elizabeth Bernstein, delves into the complexities of advocating for feminist goals in an increasingly carceral state. India is grappling with the perils of carceral feminism, where feminists demand stricter penalties without questioning why many women opt not to report cases of rape. The deeply rooted mistrust in the criminal justice system stems from the entrenched patriarchy gripping each institution of the criminal legal system. The police force, notorious for dismissing complaints of sexual violence, often compounds the trauma of survivors by subjecting them to uncomfortable and insensitive questioning. A more nuanced approach is needed to address the challenges of carceral feminism and the prison's ability to reform perpetrators. By understanding the limitations and pitfalls of carceral feminism and the prison's ability to reform perpetrators, we can strive for a more victim-centered approach that does not overly rely on legal avenues and remedies, while safeguarding and prioritizing the dignity and safety of survivors. The next article is Lessons from a High-Profile Harvard Exit. In this article, the writer says that on January 2nd, when Harvard University's first African-American president, Claudia Gay, stepped down from her post, the conservative cabal in the United States was on high alert. Empowered right-wing activists like Christopher Rufo claimed that it was they who had got her out. Republican Vivek Ramaswamy attributed the policy of affirmative action as the reason for scholars like Gay to ascend to the coveted position. Gay's reluctance to condemn the Hamas attack on Israel and her subsequent confession before a congressional committee caused controversy and eventually led to her resignation. When Gay was appointed as the 30th president of Harvard on July 1, 2023, it was widely believed that Harvard strongly believed in and adhered to the larger contours of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. The long-cherished legacy of DEI is deeply embedded in modern consciousness, not only in American academia, but also the global. It is not difficult to foresee the consequences of any explicit racial slur against a student or faculty member. The political ascendancy of Donald Trump was a turning point as the conservatives stepped up their attack on the ethics of DEI and its political manifestation. The rise of right-wing populism across the globe entails solid structural change, especially in academia. In their epistemic fabric, an academician's political persuasion or ideological commitment is no longer an individual's sovereign choice but must be subservient to their decree, since their illiberal nationalism is equated with virulent patriotism. Disputating or criticizing right-wing populism may spell deeper trouble for academics. The hideous campaign against Gay is an example of this trend. The conservative political class in India has no doubt been alarming, as their political right is deeply communal and deeply democratic. Their didactic narratives on politics and society are either a hindrance or a pedestrian. Our academic atmosphere since the formation of the Republic is largely shaped by this spirit of DEI. However, the insidious nature of right-wing populism sends out a distressing signal as its coercive tantrums may wreck the academic spirit over time. The next article is Endless War. Russia, Ukraine and NATO should make a practical assessment of the war. In this article, the writer says that the crash of a Russian plane with Ukrainian prisoners of war on board has highlighted the delicate situation between Ukraine and Russia since February 2022. Russia claims Kiev killed the plane, which had 65 Ukrainian soldiers, in Belgorod, a Russian border town which has seen repeated Ukrainian shelling in recent months. Kiev has criticized Russia for spreading propaganda, but has not ruled out its possible role in the downing. The incident comes at a time when Ukraine's troops are struggling to keep up with Russia's incremental advances. Russia, which suffered humiliating setbacks in 2022, has since retaken the battlefield momentum. Last year, Ukraine's top general said the counteroffensive, which began in June 2023, aimed at recapturing Russia-held territories in the south and east, failed. Russia has made territorial gains in the east, capturing Mariinka and making advances towards Avdiivka and Kupiansk. With huge losses on the battlefield, Ukraine's generals are calling for the mobilization of up to 5,000 soldiers, which would be unpopular. Washington's changing mood has sent an alarming message to Kiev. Volodymyr Zelensky's government has pledged to uncover the truth behind the plane crash, but Ukraine does not seem to have a practical path towards victory. Israel's war on Gaza has also drawn global attention from Ukraine. If Donald Trump is re-elected in November, Ukraine could come under heavy pressure. The war cannot be sustained without uninterrupted support from the US and its NATO partners.